Hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and today I want to kind of do some testing on New Horizons specifically. I kind of want to try to just play this into like a bunch of different matchups because I feel like this is like the newest addition to the deck, I guess, from Nationals, right? Um, Kind of like the new tech coming out of Nationals, and then we kind of like ran it into maybe like a conservative number of matchups, like a number of matchups basically where the game goes really slow, you're able to get value on New Horizons, etc. What I want to try to do today is actually just run it into some other matchups. I've been talking with Nate and a lot of people in Purple Discord who seem to be kind of sold on New Horizons into like some weird decks, basically like decks kind of like Katsu, Fire, Syndra, basically kind of like taking the slot of like quick dodge flexors plus trench, the other trench, the quick dodge trench. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like I think that there is like some merit to playing this in those matchups, but I again don't have a ton of the reps on it, so I kind of want to try to get a little bit more practice with New Horizons today. So basically, going to be looking for any New Horizons matchup. Just gonna play more with this card because I think it's a definitely a interesting like deck building and also deck tension puzzle. But yeah, I've actually like kind of also theorized that you can run New Horizons with Tunic and also like New Horizon with Trench is like the normal combo, right? Just because it enables return fire. But I think there are like some matchups where you can actually get away with like running Tunic and New Horizon, specifically like the matchups that go like a little bit faster. I think I want to try to test that theory on camera and just see if it ends up being good. That's what we're going to do today. Let's go ahead and get into the games. All right, so we got a Boltyn. They're going to choose to go first. Interesting. So is this a matchup that I would consider to be a Trench or a Tunic matchup with New Horizons? I want to try a lab with going on New Horizons going second here. Let's go ahead and bring in both sets of harpoons here. And also return fires as well. I kind of want to try this. I think I'm going to lean towards this maybe being a little bit... Let's try Tunic plus New Horizons, just kind of see how it goes. I think this might actually end up being a Trench matchup, but let's try it. I kind of want to test this like New Horizons Tunic config a little bit more. I think the idea is at least kind of worth exploring here. Okay, so starting with a Bolt of Courage, sure. Fortunately, they don't have a yellow in the bin just yet here. But I do want to like try to block with Harpoon just so we get our first Harpoon in the bin. And if they do manage to like close the chain, maybe to like activate Iron Song, which I don't think they probably want to do here. Then we can maybe get some value there. But let's go ahead and maybe just Quiver here. See if we get anything on top. Okay, Codex is actually kind of awkward here. But the question is, I guess, do we want to actually re-roll that? Probably not. So the unfortunate thing here is we are going to have to discard one of the codexes here. But that's fine. Not the end of the world because we at least get to start the game with a Harpoon, which is sometimes like a little bit rare with New Horizons going second. We'll see how this ends up going here, though. The one like big risk, especially with like New Horizons going second, if you're not running the Tunic, is that if you do draw into like Return Fire or something, you're a little bit more liable for at least the first Return Fire to brick before you can like cash in the block value on your New Horizons and then block Return Fire. It's kind of like the trade-off you have to make when running Tunic is that your first Return Fire is going to be like a little bit less good than maybe on a Trench config. All right, so it looks like they're going to cash in the Fridge here. Seems good. Portside could be a decent draw here, although this hand leaves a little bit to be desired. So this probably seems a little bit more just like a blocking hand here. Would also like to deny the might tokens here as much as possible. I think what I'm going to try to do here is like portside this Golden Tip into a random card. Hopefully it's an arrow on the top, and then that will let us go like cheating plus shifting tides. Could also just end up blocking with the cheating at some point this turn. I think that's like also reasonable. Maybe even this was supposed to be like the cheating block. And then we hold the blue to maybe like roll off Quiver or something. I think both are fairly reasonable. Does Spirit War actually trigger... No, it's when an attack action card hits, so we don't actually have to care about the Raiden here if we don't want to, which I think we can probably avoid. See if they have anything to like end the turn on here. Okay, Express Lightning, sure. So we take Another 4, go to 34, and then we get to kind of gamble here. Seems reasonable enough. There is even also a world where if we like roll this gold tip into a random harpoon off the top, it could end up being pretty good. I guess they are getting like an extra courage token here, which could be relevant. This should still be fine. Actually, arrow is never actually a good draw, right? Because we got rid of the blue. So in this case, let's actually go ahead and quiver here. See if we can hit an arrow. Okay, 3 oak's not bad though. That is basically just about as good as an arrow. So now we can go ahead and just arsenal the cheating. Maybe block with this shifting tides and the blue fin this turn, and then try to like hold the codex and then pitch off the shifting tides here. So this is still looking like a really good turn. And the nice part so far is I haven't really felt the need to trench necessarily. That being said, we are getting hit by Command and Conquer, so maybe speaking a little bit too soon, but I don't think like I necessarily even would want to trench this. I have a question. Can they actually do the attack action pump on this? Hold on, I have to like look. What is that card called? Boltyn. What is the Boltyn specialization? What is the card that tutors? Hold on. Soul. Let me like search soul and maybe see if it pops up. What is that card that they have that can pump? I think that can actually bump CNCs. Where is it? Beaming Bravado? Is that what the card's called? Something like that. Or Beacon of Victory, that's what I'm thinking of. Oh wow, this can actually target anything. Okay. But they haven't charged this turn, so I guess they don't actually get the value out of it. So I guess I could just like give up Sealace here. Okay, sure. All right, no, sorry, this one's Beacon Bravado. So Beacon of Victory was the card I was thinking of. All right, pitching a 3-oak probably not the best thing here. But we should hopefully be overdue for an arrow here. We've seen like how many arrows this game? Probably like 3 arrows. Like the chances of drawing an arrow here are like I feel like astronomically high. Pitching a 3-oak, obviously like not ideal. But this hand's not the worst thing in the world. Leaves a little bit to be desired though. I think we're actually supposed to crack a gold here to try to go 1 deeper. Because then we can potentially, if we do like end up finding just like any other harpoon here, we get to send some big number, or we get to like hold on to this 3-oak, which I feel like is a pretty big deal. Shallow water will work, so that's actually a good one. So like the go crack there. Hopefully we end up getting a little bit of our gold in return here, but they're playing Boltyn, so like they could very well have a decent amount of like armor to give us here. Okay, we got Edict of Seal. That's a really big one. So getting 2 gold back also fantastic. So we were actually able to like kind of use the tunic counter beneficially there. I feel like I haven't really particularly missed trench here, but maybe I'm also not really like looking for the spots where trench would have been good. So we have the port side here. I want to try to hold at least 1 blue this turn, so I think we're just gonna go ahead and let them swing in here. Giving a go again. The nice part is they're like a little bit starved on soul, although that being said, they are going to get a little bit back from the blessing here. Kind of like the idea of maybe giving them 1 card, but they do have 1 card left over, so be a bit concerning. You can also just like hold this hand, like making extra gold with C4 salvage, never a bad thing. Go ahead and see if they have like any follow up here. Okay, that's a pretty good one. Sure. So we could actually end up just cashing in the tunic here to deny a little bit of soul. Like might be worth it. Cash in tunic plus C4 salvage. And then we just have like a nice hand. I guess this is like kind of a situation where I don't know. I feel like trench and tunic may be comparable, right? Because we only really got like 1 tunic activation. All right, let's go ahead and start with the port side here. Ideally looking for just like another buff or something we can play. Okay, Return Fire is probably like the card we want to like IP with next turn. So let's go ahead and draw some cards here. So the nice part is we do get a double load here. The only downside is I think we kind of IP, but not really. We have the Eye of Video where we can actually guarantee we're drawing a blue. So we can actually like Hammerhead here. Draw the... well, the issue is the Arsenal, right? So I guess that in this case, we can just like bottom both of these and then try to find like a random arrow that we want to fire instead. And then notably, we did make a gold this turn. Let's go ahead and send the Kraken here and maybe try to hold on to this return fire to get a little bit greedy. It's kind of interesting. If we did have Trench in this scenario, which I feel like I might have wanted to block with Trench last turn, or I might have been tempted to, then we could like Arsenal the return fire and then like Trench it away. Not super compelling though. I guess we could have also like drawn a card to Arsenal. Like I feel like Trench wasn't actually doing all that much in that scenario, right? Mainly because I think the return fire draw was like a little bit awkward. But I guess Trench would let us like Arsenal the return fire, which I guess could be interesting. I think I like sending the Kraken here just to avoid getting a second Luminid here if we can help it. Okay, it looks like they are giving us a card here. So this card is maybe a non-attack that they actually kind of want to hold on to, which is kind of interesting. All right, we're not going to go ahead and Arsenal this return fire. Okay, if they just pass, this is kind of awkward now, because this return fire is like kind of actively hurting us. Which is, I think, like, I'm kind of used to like actually not treating this Boltyn as like a New Horizons matchup. I typically treat this more as like a Trench matchup. But maybe I still need to get a little bit used to it here. Okay, Trophy Shot's kind of good here. I think that means we're actually, unfortunately, pitching this return fire, but I guess we do still have like another copy in the deck, so it could end up being fine here. I want to set a Redfin just so that we can ideally... Well, actually, we know it's a non-attack that they wanted to prevent here. Maybe it's actually better here to send in the Shallow Water and just try to threaten that Arsenal, because they wanted to give us armor there. If this was like not a non-attack that they cared about, then I don't think they would try to protect it so heavily, right? Get to at least hold on to the Redfin here, and I guess we do have like kind of the start of an interesting return fire pitch stack if we do somehow make our way back around to it, which I kind of doubt. But yeah, it seems like they're wanting to maybe just throw some cards in front of this to protect the Arsenal. I'm kind of guessing that they maybe have their second Lumina at this point. So we definitely want to try to threaten that if we can. Okay, maybe have Direct here or something. Saving Grace, sure. Alright, so still holding on to that one card. But the nice part is they can't charge and play Lumina this turn. Okay, Spirit of War. Oh, okay, so they didn't have a non-attack. Interesting. I think we can go ahead and just safely take this, especially if they're not charging it. Mainly because I want to make some gold here and just send in a Redfin. Could definitely like disrupt their Lumina turn if they do try to go for it here sometime. But the nice part is we've chewed through most of the armor. We finally found our first King Shark cartoon, which is nice. And I don't think we've really like missed Trench all that much, is what it feels like to me. But it could also just be weird based on like the state of the game, like having to block with Tunic early. Trying to think, like, trying to visualize if Trench would be better. It's a little bit hard to do, right? All right, third Saving Grace. Okay. Well, we finally managed to get through all the Saving Graces, which is good. And I guess they are still kind of having probably like a suboptimal turn next turn. So we're definitely still doing like fairly okay here. Okay, Express Lightning. Debating whether or not we would want to just throw the Kraken in front of this, because we do have some good draws coming up. Like we have Codex. We still have a lot of our red harpoons in the deck, so I'm like almost incentivized to like go off an arsenal in case we can line up the return fire. Could also just hold on to this and then maybe like break it with New Horizons, but I think like I'm maybe coming up on the point where I want to like block with New Horizons at some point this game. And the fun part about like New Horizons plus Return Fire is that you can like break your own arsenal to get the value there. So you can like break your own arsenals to clear the way for Return Fire. Getting a little bit lucky getting the blue off the top, because I think if we hit a red there, we'd be in pretty bad shape. They have 1 point of armor. I think we haven't seen any soul shields, but I think we just need to get a little bit greedy here. I think we need a gamble that they are not able to block 14, which I feel like is fairly reasonable, right? They need like double soul shield or like soul shield plus D-react or something like that. I will say that the Command and Conquers they've been playing are like, I guess they sold one or and sold one. The first one they played for 7 was actually like fairly annoying, especially if they had a Beacon of Victory or something. All right, so let's take a peek at the hand now. Okay, we get to take. Huh, it's kind of interesting here. We haven't seen any beacons yet, so that's a little bit scary. But I think that the obvious play is to just take the Cataclysm, right? Cataclysm probably a little bit too strong of a card to just let them have. Okay, so I'm a little bit concerned here that they're maybe going to follow up with a Lumina and or a Beacon. And I don't think we've seen a single Beacon yet. That being said, there's no reasonable way to block this. So I'm kind of incentivized to maybe just cash in the New Horizons now. Just pretend that they don't have anything here. Okay, they do have a Lumina, sure. Which is pretty good for them because they're going to get a bunch more soul. But I think we kind of just need to keep this hand here. We do have some pretty bad draws in our deck, notably like Return Fire, really rough draw here. But if we can set like a Yellowfin and kind of strip their hand, I think we're like not in bad shape. Okay, cheating's not bad. Kraken also potentially good because they do have like 1 more Lumina and they're running some number of non-attacks here. So you at least get to convert this for 16, which is pretty decent. And it does mean that they can't have a Lumina turn next turn. I think they also banish a Cataclysm there, which is really good. So you have 2 Cataclysms out of the way. And they can't Lumina us here. Okay, double Beacon of Victory is like basically Lumina though. Yeah, we might unfortunately be dead here. This might be too many reactions for us to deal with. Return Fire could be actually okay in terms of saving us a bit of life here. So how do they do this? What does Beacon say? They can pay 0 if you charge a turn, search for a card. So they charge with the Roaring Beam, right? But the unfortunate part about like this Return Fire is it's just not lining up with our hand. Kind of like an unimpressive game for the Return Fires, if I'm being honest. But we can still like kind of just block here. I don't think we die at least immediately. But the amount of soul they have is concerning, and the tempo lead is definitely a bit rough. Okay, so coming in for 8, sure. And coming in for an extra 5. But they still have the other beam in hand, right? So they can still just like kind of kill us from here. I suppose we can go ahead and maybe just block 6 here. They pump 2. They can put us to like 1 exactly, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe we just have to gamble that their next turn is like basically nothing. So I guess they can tutor for something here. Oh, maybe for like a duty bound blitz. Okay, so maybe we did. I guess it doesn't matter, right? We still like kind of die anyways. All right, pretty good game for our Boltyn opponent. Again, this is kind of like a strange config to me, so maybe I'm just like not really used to playing into it. I feel like we also did like low roll like a fair bit that game. Like we only saw like one King Shark, and we saw like two somewhere in the deck. Like I feel like the draws were just like not lining up particularly well. But that I feel like was still like kind of an interesting game for like research purposes, right? I feel like I probably win this game if I'm all like Crown of Dominion, New Horizons, but maybe I need a little bit more practice with this config. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can get some more New Horizons games. Playing into Jarl here, let's go ahead and bring in New Horizon Trench. So they're gonna go first, which is fine. I think that regardless of player draw, this is probably a matchup where you want New Horizons going both. So let's go ahead and run it here with the return fires. I think it's a matchup I previously didn't run return fire into just because I think Jarl can tend to block out a little bit more than some heroes. So they're a little bit hard to get the value out of, but I think over the course of the game, you should be able to eventually get return fire value. Definitely a little bit more difficult in this matchup into something, say, like Victor, where it's a bit easier. Okay, interesting config here. Snapdragons is fascinating. Are we playing against, like, the aggro Jarl? That would be very exciting. Well, I see a Sprout Strength. It's entirely possible. Let's go ahead and hold on to the Sift and the Trophy Shot here and just do one gamble on the quiver. If they end up attacking here, I think I'm fine with that. Let's go ahead and try to just set up a good arsenal here. So I kind of want to arsenal like both of these cards, the Trophy Shot and the King Shark. I guess maybe Trophy Shot's like not actually that great at this point in the game, so maybe we can get away with getting rid of it for now. All right, we're definitely loading this King Shark, and then the question is whether or not we're actually firing it here. So we could get to come in for 10, but I almost like the idea of just kind of gambling here. Okay, gamble didn't pay off, but we still get to Arsenal port side. I want to just take this game a little bit slow and just kind of figure out what they're doing. Okay, wow, they are running kind of more of like a Briar type game plan. Interesting. So we're getting a little bit punished for, I guess, doing this. But we can still block 9 here. It might even be worth it to just like give up the armor, but that would make us a little bit more susceptible to frostbites. So maybe we're just going to take this game a little bit slower. Okay, definitely like a stranger configuration for Jarl, so maybe we have to play a little bit differently here. Let's go ahead and Quiver plus I and just kind of see what we find on top. Okay, both really good cards. I guess let's let them know about the Sunken Treasure and not the Three Oak. And then we can kind of just pass back and try to steal tempo next turn. Do we have any yellows in the bin yet? Not yet, but they could play the one out here at some point. Definitely seems like they're kind of like some kind of more aggressive Jarl, though, which is like fairly exciting. Not played into one of these in a little bit. And the question is, how do we get the most value here? Could end up just like turning over an Earth card here, but I guess I'm a little bit worried about like another CNC or something, so I guess I'll just pass on this one. May turn over something on the Redwood Hammer. What do I want to do here? Part of me almost wants to just like... Oh no, there's actually a play here. We can like 3 Oak and then port side. Potentially getting like a yellow or something, which we should be drawing into a yellow fairly soon here. So let's go and turn over their Earth card just in case they come back around to a felling. And then let's just kind of send this 3 Oak and hope for a yellow here. That is a yellow, which I would normally be a little bit averse to discarding, but I think since they're playing against like a more aggressive Jarl here, can maybe be a little bit more throwaway, I guess, with the Codex there. So let's go ahead and I think since they're more aggressive Jarl, I think we're more incentivized to send in the King Shark, although I think both are probably fine. We'll have to see here. But I imagine taking attacks out of their hand is maybe a bit more likely than not taking attacks out of their hand. It's almost like they're playing like a bad Aurora deck. But we'll have to see. Okay, they do have a shelter, sure. Alright, so one stalagmite out of the way, plus the gauntlets, so I think we're still in fairly good shape here. Oh, they're doing like elemental strike plus colors aria. Sick. They're definitely cooking stuff here, but I think we're still gonna be able to kind of chew through the armor here. And they're putting out like fairly decent numbers. Alright, scar for scar, probably not the best hit for them there though. I kind of like the idea of maybe holding just the whole hand here, just so that we guarantee that we're getting like another good arsenal next turn, because we are going to be burning through a lot of our cards with the big game trophy shot. I guess we could consider blocking with a card, but I don't know if that would actually like influence us being able to keep an arsenal versus not being able to keep an arsenal. I feel like that's the important thing here. I think we can safely send one Murderous Rabble here, though, because we have the one blue. We can send this King Kraken, probably Arsenal, another King Kraken, and then still keep an Arsenal. So if they want to give us a Stalagmite on the Murderous Rabble, I think I'm very okay with that. Right, seems like a good deal for us. And then this 3 oak will cost 2, but I think we should still be able to keep our loading going here. They currently have 5 armor. They are on some number of D-reacts, at least based on the shelter. So 5 armor plus 2 D-reacts would not cover. That would be 13, right? I think let's be a little bit aggressive and try to send one of these here. I think this feels like a fairly safe hook. Okay, looks like I was correct. All right, all attacks in hand. But they cannot convert this hand fully, which is interesting. Because they are ahead on life, they can't play the Scar for Scar. I guess they could, like, snap it, or they could play, like, Elemental Strike into something here. They don't have enough Decompose for the felling, is the nice part here, though. I'm always curious why they didn't give, like, Gauntlets or something to maybe just feel the graveyard a little bit more. But to each their own. Okay, almost a good return fire, but not quite. So they're gonna Snapdragon this, give it go again into Arsenal the Felling here. Seems decent. I mean, we're at least getting 4 block out of the return fire. So I often have the heuristic that the first return fire is like almost always gonna whiff. And then the second one is like where you're gonna get your value. But very okay with them just sending Scar for Scar here if they can't decompose. All right, let's go ahead and fire off some good damage here. We're also bringing up our arsenal in case we do end up wanting to block with the New Horizons here. I wonder if they're on cards like Icequake. They might not be, but we'll see. But getting a non-attack here, I feel like that's a pretty big deal. But definitely a cool Jarl deck. I've seen this deck before, I think, but like a little bit more like meme and janky, and this looks like a bit more refined almost, for lack of a better word. Okay, Colors of Aria, Plow under Fruits. So they still can't convert this hand fully. I guess they like discard the fruits and then like pitch these 2 to Felling. I guess it's pretty good. But we're still sitting on a fat gold stack, so I feel like we can even just like eat a Felling and still be kind of fine here. All right, let's go ahead and bottom. We do want to play this Codex, obviously, because they are going to keep an Arsenal here. I think it's maybe time to just go ahead and cash in the New Horizons. While we have an empty Arsenal, while the opportunity is open, I think getting the 2 block value here is reasonable against a more aggressive deck. And then we know what their Arsenal is, or we know their Arsenal is a Plow. So I guess we're still just like sending King Shark here almost always. Don't think I'm going to hook this though, just because there is some likelihood they give us like 4 armor plus D-React plus another block. Maybe have even like double D-React here or something. Okay, double D-React, sure. I think they still have that Plow in Arsenal, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, we'll let them plow a Yellowfin. I think that's fine. Would like to have a better harpoon here. Oh, they're just going for crumble. Interesting. Huh. Don't know if that's better. I guess. Oh, did they not have the ability? They might not have the ability to decompose the plow under. That kind of makes sense. So let's go ahead and pitch, I guess, one of these shallow. We might have actually wanted to hold on to the shallow water, but that's fine. We're going to be cracking a lot of gold this turn, so we might even be able to just find another harpoon here. Okay, it looks like we do. Okay, 3 of a kind is maybe the best draw in our deck there. I was about to say that, but I ended up getting actually kind of rewarded for doing this here. Oh, we don't have New Horizons anymore. That's unfortunate. But this is still going to be a good turn here. The only downside is, I guess, if they do get another Earth card in the bin, they can plow under us, but it should still be fine for us. I guess we don't technically have to Arsenal as King Shark if we want to just, like, hold it. Okay, oh, the Channel Mountain Heroic deck. Okay, I think this kind of paints a more interesting picture. Sure. So they have plenty of Earth in the bin. I guess I'd rather just, like, hold on to this King Shark. Maybe I don't want to hold on to it, though. I feel like it's fairly close. They're going to be sending Plow under for 9 here, presumably, but the nice part is they don't get to keep the channel around. I think I'm supposed to, like, IP with this, because I guess we're going to, like, lose it anyways, almost. I don't know. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe it's better to just get rid of it there. Okay, they're playing the CLF instead. Sure. Kind of confusing from the confusing series of plays, I guess. So I don't believe we can safely fight through the CLF here. There's just no way that we can actually, like, net resources off our gold anymore. So I think we're just going to try to Arsenal this Codex and hope for the best. Depends entirely on how, like, wide and or tall they're going to be able to go here. Oh, we'll go ahead and just tuck the Codex in Arsenal, see what they do. Okay, Phalang's a pretty good one. But we can block that out and kind of just weather the storm here if we want to. It does seem like they're a deck that's on some number of reacts still, so, like, if we just block this out, it's like a decent chance that they just brick. We'll have to see, though. Could very well prove me wrong if they draw into, like, a pummel here, but it almost feels like their deck is, like, not built around pummel in, like, a weird way. All right, another hand where, unfortunately, the return fire is a bit awkward. I guess we can just, like, bottom Harpoon here, block with the return fire, and then maybe just to even give them Sea Lace here, just so we're not, like, dead to pummel. It seems kind of reasonable. I don't know, return fire is such a weird card sometimes. Like, sometimes you're able to get, like, the full value out of it, other times it's just, like, kind of like a 4 block, which is, I don't know, not exactly where we want to be as Marlin. I feel like it's a lot easier to get value out of it in the longer, like, the longer a game goes, the more likely I feel like I'm able to get value out of it. But, like, for these, like, more aggressive, like, I guess Jarl is typically a game that goes a little bit longer, but for decks like this where they're actually doing, like, a little bit more of, like, an aggressive thing, it definitely feels a bit like, I don't know, like, you're not able to just, like, fully convert that return fire, or you don't get the perfect timing for it, I guess. All right, root bound, sure. I assume another direct here. Okay. So still get to hold 3 cards here. I think it could still be in a little bit of danger. Okay, Plowshare. I feel like we can still kind of beat a plow here. So I want to keep as many cards here as possible. So, like, we can even maybe consider giving up the trench here, going to 3 total. Just in case they have something weird here. Like, I'm almost expecting, like, a Razor Reflex out of nowhere, which they can't do in a plow under, but I still want to die to, like, something random. So let's go ahead and crack some gold and try to find something that will kind of help us close out the game here. Let's crack one more gold, and then after this, I think we're going to be making a gold fin here. Fire off the trophy shot. I think we're sending 13 here. I was trying to go for maybe potentially a bigger arrow, but didn't quite work out. Actually, I guess we don't technically get to send 13 here. Maybe it's still fine to just like keep this as arsenal. Maybe there's a point there where it's actually just supposed to stop cracking gold. Interesting. I guess we could crack like one more gold here and try to go for it. Okay. Kind of like this play. I feel like that ended up actually kind of working out here because 13, I imagine, is going to be a little bit hard for them to block. But we will see. They are running some number deer. Actually, could very well get us here. All right, root bouncer. Do they have one more? Yeah, they do have one more, sure. Still taking 2, though, and we do get 2 gold here. So I don't even feel that bad about it. Definitely one of the closer Jarl games, though. Maybe this is actually the strat that Jarls should be doing. Probably not, though. We can try to close out the game next turn if we kind of put them on a hand that's not able to block overpower, which they've seen 6, or how many reacts here? They've seen the root bound, which is the 7th react here. 6, 7. Okay, I think this is fine. Alright, activate Marlin, crack gold. Should be able to keep a random good arsenal here. Let's go ahead and actually top both of those. Yeah, we can get this harpoon in arsenal. Then fire in. And if they're not able to block overpower this turn, they do die. And then we still have this red lure potentially for backup. I think I definitely could have played this game a little bit tighter, but I think this is like actually kind of maybe a awkward config to present return fire into, because like they ended up being like a bit more of an aggressive deck, so it's harder to kind of capitalize on the value of it. Okay, just a vanilla Oakenald, sure. So we get to refresh the gold here. We go to 1, which is scary against Jarl because they do have potentially the Channel Mount Eisen. I think we've seen one, haven't we? Maybe I'm hallucinating Channel Mount Eisen. Let's go ahead and turn over random yellow. Then we could potentially swing in for lethal here, but our opponent's deck is like a weird mix of like offense and defense. It's kind of cool. I like what they've done with the deck. It's like very aggressive, but also very blocky, which is kind of like a perfect combo for kind of dealing with Marlin. Okay, they do have the root bound. But if we are able to go over for 1 here, I feel like that's still a pretty big deal because it means we can get like an E-Strike or something to play. E-Strike definitely pretty good again for closing out the games here. All right, grab the E-Strike. Just need them to run out of reacts here. I feel like we've seen most of them at this point, right? We've seen basically all the root bounds, all the shelters, all the sinks. All right, surely at this point we can try to close out the game. All right, so we have to block 9 here, but we get to keep cheating plus E-Strike. Go again. Which, is that enough? Maybe it's not. We could have also considered not playing the cheating, which was also interesting. I think we want to send this for 8 here because we're still forcing 3 cards. And we get to just draw a random card. I guess there's no real reason to like put this face up, right? Very strange Jarl game. If they have to give us the full hand here, I'm very happy with this. The card draw there, I think, was also very justified. Let's not lose the wager. All right, let's not actually sack the wager here since we do just have an arrow we can play. All right, and then I think, okay, we should, hopefully, I've been saying that we were able to close out the game here, but the last couple times I said it have not actually been true, but let's hopefully now be able to close out the game. They're out of sink blows, they're out of shelters, they're out of root bounds. So unless they're also running... Okay, they're running Pulse, sure. Okay, I probably should have actually seen that one coming. That is definitely one that I should expect. All right, surely at this point they are out of ways to block overpower. Fingers crossed. All right, we will banish, go the tip, and then we will send in a King Kraken, which they hopefully this time cannot block. Okay, we somehow closed out the game against the Jarl. That was a very strange Jarl deck. Maybe I need a little bit more practice into that, but still kind of cool to see a little bit. Definitely like a very interesting deck. The Ravenous Rebels are also very weird. It's almost like they're playing like a weird version of Florian. It definitely seemed like pretty effective, at least against us, because like every time we're able to send an arrow, they basically were able to block it. And then the times they like weren't able to send like a big enough arrow, they could just like block and still send like really efficient damage. So that's kind of like a perfect recipe for like almost dealing with Marlin. Like this kind of Jarl deck, I feel like does a bit better into us if we just don't draw hot early. But we still got there in the end, which I think is maybe a testament to just playing very safely and also having a good gameplay on the Jarl. Okay, but yeah, I feel like that was not a very impressive game for the return fires, and even the trench for that matter. Just didn't really seem like it really mattered that much, which I feel like is going to be like a lot of your experience testing trench. Is just some games it's like not going to matter at all. But yeah, let's go ahead and see if we can get one more. Playing against Phi, so they're going to have us go first. It's another matchup where I want to try the New Horizons and the Tunic thing. So let's see if it works out this game. I think that Phi is definitely a matchup where you can actually run Kraken into, because they do run potentially Warmongers. I forget what the card's called, like Rise from the Flame or something, where it brings back a Phoenix Flame. So let's go and try it like this. See if it ends up doing well here. Again, a little bit of a strange config into Phi, just because I think that Return Fire is not something I'd like normally play into it, but I want to try to like experiment around with some things today. I've heard good things about Return Fire into these aggressive strategies, so maybe I'll be impressed. Alright, they're also like fat decking, which is interesting. Let's at least threaten their Phoenix Flame here. Fair enough. And then we can just quiver or try to hit an arrow here. Okay, we do. Now we can shifting and just set up 6-card hand here. Again, sending Yellowfin, not probably that impressive into Phi, but decent enough. Okay, we have the Shifting Tides popping off next turn, so we should be able to at least send like a Yellowfin here. No real incentive to block the Rising Resentment yet here, though. Yeah, I'm kind of curious what their deck is in the sense, like, why are they fat decking us here? But maybe they're just bringing in like a bunch of D-Reacts and they don't know what to cut for it. All right, Hunt to the Ends of Wraith, sure. 0 for 2, I am a-okay with. Do probably want to try to block with this Kraken on next chain link potentially. Oh, okay, there wasn't a next chain link. Well, that has thrown off my plans slightly here. I guess what that means is we're maybe just like over pitching this King Kraken here. The fact that they're fat decking is like a little bit strange to me. I'm almost like a little bit hesitant to throw Hook on this, although I feel like I would normally do that against a normal Phi, which this might still be a normal Phi. Just feels bad, like potentially having it get blown up to like multiple D-Reacts. So let's play it a little bit safe here. I think against like a normal Phi config, I'd be like kind of incentivized to maybe just slap the Hook on it. But into something that's like a little bit awkward, maybe I'm a little bit scared. Okay, Earthing's War, Banneret, Flame, sure. So the nice part is we did eat their one Phoenix Flame. That being said, we're probably going to get another Phoenix Flame back here. Okay, I guess we can potentially deal with the Sunken Treasure, but I'd kind of rather just send 13 on this hand if I can help it. These might just be kind of a no-block situation. The nice part is they didn't really have any blues in their hand. So, I feel like there are two main options here. We either block with the Sunken Treasure and turn over their second Phoenix Flame, Or we just try to like not block this entire turn and just keep chaining King Shark together, which I think is like the better play. Also lets us be a little bit more cavalier with Hook because we're going to be like holding the King Shark back. Okay, and Flame is also getting some from Graveyard back, sure. So I guess we could have stopped like 1 extra damage this turn, but I don't think it matters. Or I guess maybe 2 extra damage if they like close the chain here somehow. Definitely a weird set of things they're choosing to do here. Right, Phoenix Flame, sure. Yeah, we just want to kind of send 13 here. Okay, getting Lava Burst, sure. At bare minimum, we have Mask of the Bouncing Links out of the way, and I feel like it was like relatively low value is the nice part. So now we just get to send in with King Shark plus Cheating Scoundrel. And get to safely hook for this is the nice part here. Yeah, Return Fire is definitely like a little bit weird into these more aggressive matchups is what I'm finding. It feels like you just don't get as much leeway to kind of develop it out to its kind of like fullest potential. All right, so there's Rise from the Ashes, which I think was the card I was trying to talk about when I was talking about why I bring in King Kraken. I think Fire that burns within is maybe just like a little bit too strong of a card to let them keep here. I'm gonna take the Fires just to make sure they can't draw a bunch of cards and go super wide on us. The rest of that hand I think is largely okay with me. I get to send like 4 into 3 and a 3, so like 10 damage total, but we get to send a lot more than that next turn. So this is very exciting. Always like seeing a hand that has 2 buffs, 3 of a kind. Can't complain. So yeah, we're gonna eat a little bit of damage here, but I think it should be largely okay. So they go Spreading Flames into Searing Emberblade. The Emberblade will not get pumped here. Well, don't they have a Rise from the Ashes or something in their hand? Wait, why did they play that first? Oh, they can't play it before the Oath of Loyalty. But they could play it before the Spreading. I guess they may want to hold on to it. Okay, very strange. Maybe like a little bit awkward just from their hand because they can't play the Rise before they play the Oath, right? Maybe they just want to arsenal it here, which I think is also reasonable. I guess that the interesting thing is they like can't. They could like break the chain and put the Phoenix Swing back or something like that. But I mean, that's not actually all that good. All right, so let's go ahead and just kind of pop off here. Draw some cards. Maybe looking for like 1 more buff if I can help it. C4 is not bad, but I think we could do maybe like a little bit better. Draw 1 more pump, I think we like basically win the game. Third kind I think will also suffice here. So the awkward part is that we don't get to like, so compare this to Trench, right? We don't get to clear our arsenal here, which is a little bit of the downside, but we're still just like sending good number. And then let's go ahead and maybe hold. Like, I don't think we would have wanted to send this Kraken anyways. I don't know. Maybe we'll do something like this. Should be able to safely hook this because we can discard the Kraken. Yeah, we'll take a peek at what they got. I don't know. Like, the New Horizon stuff is definitely very weird into aggro decks, is what I say. Maybe I just need to get, like, a little bit more used to it. All right, take a peek at the hands. They have Blaze Headlong, Huntington's Wraith, and Lava Burst with the Rise from Phoenix in the arsenal. So, how do we make this hand as awkward as possible for them? Probably involves taking just like one of the better cards out of their hand between the Cinderskin Devotion, which I guess is like 3 value. It's kind of interesting. I guess we just take the highest number value card because I think they can play Lava Burst basically on any version of that hand, right? I think that probably is a reasonable Enough take there. Oh, we did draw return fire here. But I kind of wanted to actually showcase why I don't think you need trench if you're doing return fire into these like more aggressive strategies, I guess. Is that like you can actually just like block with it like here, right? Do this, you break your own arsenal, which is probably gonna get broken anyways here, just because I'm gonna have to like block with the new residence at some point this turn, right? And then we just get to like fire off our red fin on the next turn. So they come in with 2 damage here. They send Searing Emberblade plus the Phoenix Flame. And they don't have another Phoenix Flame to get back. So I think we can just safely give the remainder of our armor here. Just cash it in while it's hot. But once they close the chain, the New Horizon will break. It'll break our arsenal, and then we can just clear the arsenal safely for the return fire, which actually ended up being pretty good this turn. And then we also just have like a blue to crack potentially to look for another buff here or something like that. So all in all, I think that was actually maybe like the best possible return fire turn. So let's go ahead and crack some gold here. And this is kind of showcasing like why I think you can like get away with like running Tunic, or why you can be a little bit greedy. Let's go ahead and just cycle for a few more buffs here. Okay, Codex is like a little bit of a brick, but you can just try to dig like one deeper here. Still have the Tunic to potentially like bail us out if we draw bad. All right, another port side. Let's finish cracking the last gold here. Because if we draw another blue, then I'm kind of just incentivized to do something like this. I guess the interesting thing is we like haven't used our Tunic counter yet, but I feel like there are a lot of situations where actually sorry, I don't want to do this. I want to just play the red fin here. There are a lot of situations where I feel like the Tunic does help unbrick your hands, especially if you just draw like a yellow or something random. I kind of like to think of like Tunic either as an insurance policy or kind of just like a way to kind of like doing like the 5-int kind of Tunic play where you like crack 2 gold using just 1 blue. I feel like there's a lot of merit still to running Tunic. Okay, looks like they weren't able to full cover that there, so they have Rising and Ronin in hand. And that I guess kind of like showcases there's an argument for like just using Tunic into these more like aggressive. I'm not saying Fi is maybe a New Horizons matchup, but like if Fi is a New Horizons matchup, then being a little bit more aggressive and kind of like running it into Fi, I think is pretty reasonable. But yeah, that was probably like the best return fire I think I've seen all night, so maybe a good place to kind of end the video there. But I think there's definitely still like a lot of experimentation to be done with return fire, Tunic, Trench, New Horizons. Still a lot to kind of explore. I think there's maybe a little bit more variety in the configurations that you can run, and it maybe a little bit of his pilot preference as well. All right, so anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. A little bit of a shorter video this week just because I have some work stuff kind of going on this week. But yeah, we'll try to do some fun stuff for the next video as well. I have a couple ideas. But yeah, still continue to work on the Marlin list for Vegas. I feel like a lot of it's still kind of up in the air depending on the last couple like hero LL. So we'll kind of see how the last couple nationals end up shaking up. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.